In the pre-dawn darkness of Kyoto, a sound cuts through the silence, a voice that has summoned souls for nearly 4 centuries. The great bell of Shonin Temple weighs more than 70 tons, and when 17 monks strike it in perfect unison, its thunder carries for miles. Some say even to Biwako, though locals admit that is more legend than fact. But this is just one voice among thousands. Across Japan, ancient artifacts still speak, not in words, but in whispers of forgotten secrets, hidden faiths, and legends that blur the line between myth and reality. From swords that supposedly refuse to cut the innocent, to floors that sing like nightingales, these objects hold stories that refuse to stay buried. And later in this video, I'll show you a golden statue so perfect, emperors believed it brought them closer to paradise, and a vault that holds treasures from a silk road that connected Japan to civilizations lost to time, the Thunder of Kyonin. Every New Year's Eve, as Japan prepares to shed its old skin, 17 Buddhist monks gather in the bell tower of Kyonin Temple. They have trained for months for this moment, not just in timing, but in breathing, in moving as one body. Because the bell they are about to strike is not just large, it is a monster. Cast in the year 1633, this bronze giant stands nearly 9 feet tall and stretches nearly 9 feet across. Its surface bears no ornate dragons or vines, just smooth dark metal that seems to absorb light. The monks call it Daishuru, the Great Bell. And when they strike it, the sound doesn't just fill the air, it fills your chest, your bones, your soul. One monk leads, gripping a massive wooden beam suspended by ropes. The other 16 position themselves around him, hands on the beam, bodies synchronized. They swing together, building momentum like a human pendulum. When the beam finally connects with the bell, the impact sends shockwaves through the temple complex. But here's what makes this bell truly mysterious. Fishermen on Biwako, 20 miles away, say they can hear it on clear nights, a belief passed down through generations. Some whisper that the bell's tone changes with the spirit of the city, deeper during sorrow, brighter when hope returns. Modern acoustics experts study its resonance, but they cannot fully explain why its sound travels so far, or why it seems to bypass the ears and speak directly to something deeper. The monks finish their ritual as dawn touches Kyoto's rooftops, but that was only half the story. Masamune's impossible blades. In a vault beneath Tokyo's National Museum, a sword once rested in silk-lined darkness. Its name was the Honzyu Masamune, and it was considered the greatest blade ever forged in Japan. But no one has seen it since 1945. The sword was created by Goru-Niudu Masamune in the late 13th century. A smith so legendary, his name became synonymous with perfection. Unlike others who signed their work, Masamune never marked his blades. His technique was unmistakable, folding steel into patterns like flowing water frozen in metal. But Masamune's swords were said to possess something more, a kind of consciousness. The Honzyu Masamune supposedly refused to cut innocent flesh, test it on a criminal, and it would slice clean through, try to harm a virtuous person, and the blade would turn aside at the last moment. During the Second World War, the sword was kept in the Kanu family collection. When Japan surrendered, occupation forces ordered all weapons turned in. The Honzyu Masamune was handed over to a United States officer at the 7th Infantry Headquarters. The exact identity is disputed, and from that moment, the blade vanished. Some say it was melted down. Others believe it lies in a private vault overseas. But the legend only grows stronger. Metallurgists examining surviving Masamune's swords describe crystalline structures so refined that even with modern tools, they struggle to reproduce them. To some, it feels as though the steel was folded not just in space, but in time itself. A poetic way to describe mastery that science still cannot fully explain. The search for the Honzyu Masamune continues. But perhaps some legends are meant to remain lost. The singing floors of Nizu Castle. Walk through Nizu Castle in Kyoto, and the floors will betray you. Every step produces a sound, not just a creak, but something closer to a bird's call. The Japanese call them uguisubari, nightingale floors, and they were designed with one purpose, to make silent movement impossible. Built in the year 1603 as the Kyoto residence of the Tokugawa shoguns, Nijo Castle was a fortress disguised as a palace. Carpenters deliberately designed the boards to chirp under pressure, placing metal clamps at precise angles beneath the wood. But here's where mystery begins. The floors don't just make noise, they make music. Different sections produce different tones, creating an almost melodic progression as you walk. Some visitors even report hearing calls like nightingales when no birds are near. Modern acoustic studies reveal something extraordinary. The floors were finely crafted to carry sound through the wooden halls. Guards could tell not just that someone was moving, but where and how fast. Some scholars even suggest they were deliberately tuned, though others argue the harmony was a remarkable byproduct of the carpenter's genius. The technique has never been replicated to the same effect. Modern attempts fall short. The secret died with the craftsmen who built them. Yet the floors of Nijo Castle continue to sing, unchanged for over 4 centuries. It is as if the castle itself is alive, breathing music through its wooden lungs. The hidden Christians' secret statues. On the remote islands of Nagasaki Prefecture, families once kept secrets that could have cost them their lives. Hidden behind false walls, disguised as Buddhist altars, were Christian artifacts that survived Japan's most brutal religious persecution. When Christianity was banned in 1614, believers faced a choice: abandon their faith or go underground. Thousands chose the shadows, becoming Kakure Kirishitan, the hidden Christians. For over 2 centuries, they practiced in secret, blending their faith with local traditions to avoid detection. Their most ingenious creation was the Maria Canon, statues that looked like the Buddhist goddess Canon, but were secretly the Virgin Mary. Look closer, and you might see a cross hidden in the folds of robes, a rosary disguised as prayer beads, facial features that leaned Western instead of Eastern. The hidden Christians even developed a secret language. They called God Dainichi, Great Sun, borrowed from Buddhism. Christmas became Nativity of the Great Sun. They memorized Latin prayers phonetically, passing them down for generations, even when the meaning was lost. In 1865, when Japan reopened to the West, French missionaries were astonished to discover thousands of hidden Christians emerging from the shadows. They had preserved their faith for more than 200 years, without priests, without churches, with nothing but these secret artifacts and unshakable devotion. Today, many Maria Canon statues remain in private collections, guarded by families whose ancestors risked everything to keep them safe. The persecution ended, but the mystery of faith disguised as art lived on. The shifting faces of no masks. In the dim light of a no theater, a mask seems to change its expression without moving. One moment sorrowful, the next serene, then suddenly fierce. This is the magic of no masks, carved from single blocks of cypress by masters who understood human perception better than science does even today. The secret lies in subtle asymmetries. One eye slightly higher than the other, lips curved differently, cheekbones carved at just the right angle. Under stage light, as the actor tilts his head, shadows transform the expression. Look down, the mask appears sad. Look up, it becomes joyful. Turn slightly, and the emotion shifts again. Among the most famous is the Hania mask, a tradition more than 6 centuries old, representing a woman consumed by jealousy and transformed into a demon. Visitors say the mask's expression changes as they watch, more demonic or less, depending on their own emotions. Scientists have scanned these masks in 3 dimensions, but they cannot fully explain the psychological effect. The greatest mask makers worked in near solitude, carving by candlelight for months at a time, studying how flickering light and shadow would breathe life into still wood. Their secrets, like the expressions themselves, remain elusive. The Shusuin Silk Road treasures. Once each year, for only a short time, a handful of the most mysterious treasures in Japan are revealed to the public. They come from the Shusuin Repository in Nara, a cedar-walled storehouse built in the year 756 to house the belongings of Emperor Shiyumu. It is a time capsule of the ancient world. Inside lie treasures from the Silk Road, Persian glass, Indian ivory, Chinese silk, artifacts from vanished kingdoms whose names are barely remembered. The building itself is a marvel, constructed without nails. only interlocking wooden joints. Its design allows it to expand and contract with the seasons, creating natural climate control that has preserved fragile materials for more than a millennium. Among the most curious items is a lute painted with a camel rider, in a style neither Japanese nor Chinese, but Central Asian. There is also a glass bowl that appears Roman. Though Rome and Japan had no direct contact, how did it cross thousands of miles and centuries of history to end up in an emperor's vault? The Shiusuin holds more than 9,000 items, yet only a fraction have been studied. Each annual exhibition reminds us the vault still keeps its deepest secrets. The golden phoenix of Byodo-in, reflected in a lotus pond, the Phoenix Hall of Byodo-in Temple seems to float between earth and sky. Built in the year 1053, it was designed to represent the Pure Land, the Buddhist paradise of eternal peace. At its heart sits the Amida Buddha statue, carved by the master Zyuchiu, nearly 10 feet tall and covered in gold leaf so thin it glows like inner fire. Zyuchiu pioneered the Yosegidukuri technique, assembling multiple wooden pieces so seamlessly it appears carved from one block. The statue's face changes with the light, contemplative at dawn, serene at noon, fiery at sunset. Its crystal eyes follow visitors. Some even swear they see its chest rise and fall, as though it is breathing. The Phoenix Hall itself spreads like a great bird, and reflected in the pond, it completes the vision of earth and heaven united. For the aristocrats of the Heian Age, this was no promise of immortality, but of rebirth in the Pure Land of Amida. From the thunder of ancient bells to the whispers of hidden faith, Japan's mysterious artifacts continue to speak across the centuries. They remind us that history is not just dates and battles, but dreams, fears, and hopes preserved in bronze, wood, steel, and stone. These objects survived wars, earthquakes, and time itself, because each generation recognized their power and chose to protect them. What other secrets still lie waiting in temple vaults or family altars? What stories do these artifacts still have to tell? If you enjoyed this journey through Japan's mysterious past, subscribe to Japan Rewind and join us as we uncover more hidden legends of the land of the rising sun.